Hey guys, it's Julie. I hope you guys are doing awesome today. We have such a great interview, but before we did the interview, I want to show you what Jodie did to my house. So let's look. It was, okay, what she made it into. She styled it. Isn't that cool? She styled our little interview section, and she took my stuff and made it awesome. Isn't that good? I love that so much. All right, good. Well, come on and join us. Interview. We're going to talk to Jodie. She has an amazing story, and I'm just really blessed that I get to be here throughout all of the stages of this story. It's been really fun.
Yes.
So let me put this here. All right, hold on with me just a second. So, how's everybody doing on this Monday? What's your theme song for today, Jodie?
My theme song. Oh, didn't even think about it. My theme song for the day today.
For the day.
I was listening to some good hard rap music this morning to get my day started, and I don't listen to that normally.
Nice.
I listen to Hamilton.
Oh, okay.
That is my choice lately.
I have to watch it. I haven't watched it yet, or listened to it yet, but I have to.
Yeah. And it's the soundtrack. It's on in my car. It's on everywhere. But
Nice.
went to CrossFit this morning, so started out with a little bit of rap.
A little bit of jam.
Yes, exactly.
We were listening to rock in workout this morning, but my theme song today is "Ain't Nothing Gonna Break My Stride." That's my theme song. We were playing it on the thing earlier, and some Queen and some Journey.
Okay,
so,
there you go. Good
anyway,
mix.
so I hope you guys are doing well today. We're going to be interviewing Jodie. Let's just get right to it. I am so happy that I've been able to know Jodie through a lot of stages of our life together, and it seems like our lives intersect at these kind of poignant moments where it's like every time they intersect, I get this little snapshot of the stage of life that she's in, and it's been so interesting to see where she's come from, where she's going, and it's pretty phenomenal. And I want to share this story with you guys because, they say that going from 0 to 1 is the hardest part of starting a business. 0 to 1 customer, that's the hardest transition. And here Jodie is, and she's gone from 0 to like the biggest staging company in Napa Valley. So, and how many years has that been?
2.5, almost 3. Yeah, that I decided to take the full leap.
Oh my
and,
gosh.
I don't want to ever look back
Oh
on
my.
I look back constantly at everything I did, but best decision ever.
2.5 years, you guys. She built this amazing business. So let's get right to it. Could you tell us a little bit, take a couple minutes, tell us about yourself and like your history, your background, like what has influenced you and just what you're up to?
Okay.
Yeah.
Went to Vintage with Julie and Damien. Graduated in the same class, 93. But went on from school. I had a passion for architecture and drafting. And so I decided to head to Arizona State and got there and realized just how much life I hadn't lived yet. Probably had a little bit too much fun. Wasn't focused on my studies as much as I should be, and decided to kind of refocus. And so I started into some drafting classes and had some great friends that influenced me to actually kind of veer a little bit. So I moved to Utah and lived with my grandparents. My grandfather was an architect, and I looked at that as this opportunity to glean from him little tidbits of knowledge. And while there, went to the University of Utah, studied architecture once again, and knew it was my path, and knew I had this passion for houses, but then got the little bug of interior design. So started kind of taking those courses, and then life came to a roads diverged kind of moment where I looked, and I fell in love and got married to a great guy, and we had 4 beautiful children, and I was living in Utah. And I had little odds and ends jobs. I loved scrapbooking when scrapbooking was all the rage.
Did you have like the supply cabinet?
Oh gosh,
like all the
yes,
paper?
and the bags that you toted around, and we'd stay up till midnight and scrapbook. I had a bunch of friends. So I had always this creative niche in my life. I got a job at Home Depot doing kitchen design. And through that experience, I actually grew with Home Depot, and I became a manager for them. And then got picked up by a company that so many of us here in town know and love. But I got picked up by a company called Home Goods, and I worked for them in Salt Lake City. and grew with them from an assistant manager to running my own store in Farmington, Utah. Nice. And I watched it be built from the ground up.
Wow.
And even some of the best relationships or not, we went through some struggles, and I was going through a divorce and struggling with that at the time. And we have a son who was diagnosed on the autism spectrum right around the same time. So there was a lot of chaos in my world at the time. And through the divorce, I realized I needed to be home. Something was drawing me back to Napa.
Wow.
And so I headed the company, Home Goods, decided to transfer me. The closest they could come, because there was no Napa Home Goods at the time,
That's right.
the closest I could come was Elk Grove. And so I planted myself in Elk Grove and met an amazing man who actually worked for the bigger brand of the company, and fell madly in love with him. And he knew my heart was in Napa. And so he brought me back to Napa, and he sold his house in San Francisco and loved me and my 4 children and all of the chaos and craziness that having 4 kids comes with. And we had some moments where it was just retail. If any of you have ever worked retail, it can be hard.
Yikes.
And it's long hours, and I was driving from Napa to Elk Grove. And so we just kind of realized it was time to follow a new path.
How long was your drive from here to Elk Grove?
Minimum hour and 20 each way.
Each way.
Each way a
Wow.
day. And then long hours at the store too.
Yeah.
And it took one moment. I had met stagers. Home Goods is a home stagers mecca.
Yes.
And so I had met a lot of stagers and had great conversations with them. And I actually went on a couple jobs with a few of them on my days off, and just was like, this is amazing. It's like everything I love rolled into one.
Yeah.
And took a class and decided that I was in. I was sold. And I actually took days off of work from Home Goods to take the class.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Took
They didn't know
some
they were
time
helping
at
you.
that time. But it was a great thing for me, a great niche for me in all my creative outlets. And saw an accident in Dixon one day. I mean, it was a few cars ahead of me heading out. And it ruffled me enough that I was like, this has to happen sooner than later. And so with the support of James, we decided to launch Napa Valley Home Staging. And then I got cold feet. And you know this because I sat down with her and talked with her at Starbucks and had these in-depth conversations. But I was ready, and I knew I was ready, and I was willing to leave my job behind and start on this new path. And I was excited, and I had this passion and fire, and I got scared. And I immediately, fear
It's
got
like
me.
the number one enemy. Anybody out there feel afraid of starting a new venture before?
Yeah, it was
So
stressful,
scary.
and insurance and the kids and everything that goes on in your brain and money and what if I don't, everything that was going on at the time. And so I took a job at Staples here in Napa, and I was with them for 3 or 4 months. And I believe everything happens for a reason. I've learned so much at every single place I've worked. And there I learned about business cards and business plans, and I was putting all these pieces together while working there and learning from great people and great leaders, again, at another retail establishment. And it just came to a moment where I had a really angry customer
Okay.
over a computer issue.
Okay.
And I said, I'm done. And it was within a 2-week notice that I launched completely. Whole heart, don't look back, go out and hit the pavement and find your first customer.
Can you believe that? Within 2 weeks. That's the same that happened to us. Like, sometimes you just come to that line where you're just like, that is it, and you were, and I don't know about you, but like when we were in a place where we were like, I felt like we were supposed to be doing it long before we actually got started, but fear holds you back from making those decisions and taking those leaps. So it was like a moment where you were just like, done. You were like, it's it.
I remember calling James, going back into the office after the lady was upset, and I'm like, this is the day. Like, just, this was the moment.
Done.
And I called my boss at the time, and we met, and I'm like, I'm putting in my notice. And he's like, what are you going to do? And I knew what I was going to do.
Yeah.
And I did it.
Well, so I saw Sarah said hello. Sarah Martinez Mullison said hello. She went to high school with us. So anyway, good to see you, Sarah. And of course, if you guys have any questions, we want to ask Jodie any questions, because, well, tell us in like 2 sentences, what is staging? If anybody doesn't know what staging is, tell us what 2 seconds, what it is.
Okay, so home staging is making a house appeal to the largest potential buying audience possible by neutralizing, taking the person or the family out of the home a little bit and infusing a little bit more of a neutrality, but still a modern, bringing it back to life a little bit, so that people can feel themselves in it. A lot of times when we have pictures up and everything and it's very personal, people can't envision themselves.
Yeah.
So we come in and we make that
That's
happen.
awesome. And you work mostly with realtors
And homeowners.
Realtors and homeowners who are trying to sell their house. Is the big audience.
Yep.
Okay, so how did you get your first customer? That's what I want to ask. Do you guys wonder that? Because I always wonder, like, well, I asked Sarah this last time, and how much did your first customer pay you?
First customer, you do everything for the first customer, and I remember
Totally.
I took a couple classes out at the small business group out here, and I met a lady through that who owned her own small business here in town, and it was a little while, and I get a phone call from her, and she said, I'm selling my mom and dad's house down on Montgomery Street. It's just this little 2-bedroom, 1-bath. It's so cute and quaint and tons of character. And I was wondering if I could get a bid from you. And here I am, like, I've worked numbers. I know how much my bids are. And the very first thing, I'm like, I'll just do it. I don't care what I make.
I'll pay you
exactly.
if I can do it.
Because I get, for my portfolio, I'm going to get pictures. And so I remember really thinking hard about just barely over what I probably needed. And she accepted. She said I had a beautiful proposal. She accepted the offer, and I was like, okay. And we were off for the races with that one.
Okay, well, I don't know if we're sideways because the comments are coming in sideways. Christine Jensen said, hello from the Seattle area. For someone who doesn't have a lot of experience in business, is there a book or website you recommend that offers solid how-to steps? That's a great question. What would you recommend?
I hit everything on the internet. I remember looking at Pinterest on how to start a business plans, what you need, from talking to people in different industries, finding out how they did it. I remember Julie and I had some in-depth conversations about insurance. That was a very big concern, and taxes and everything else like that. But reaching out to your network, your community, and finding out what other people did, what worked, what didn't. I remember asking you that as well. What would you not do again? But just reaching out to people. Pinterest was a big one because there's so many different ideas in the internet in general, but also the small business group
if you have
out
a small business groups are awesome. Yeah, I wonder if we should stop and like go not sideways, but I don't know. But then we had to stop.
Yes,
it,
you
so.
are sideways.
Oh shoot! Darn it, you guys! I'm sorry. Turn your phone sideways. All right, I know. And then let's see. Okay, that's a great question. That's what I was going to ask you. Is one thing that you would not do? So if you're starting a business, like Christine's talking about, what's one thing you would not do to start a business that you maybe learned from a failure, learned from a mistake? I'll tell you mine after this because we had like a $7,000 mistake when we first started out.
Well, with me, it's very to my industry what I did, but I started just buying everything and not really knowing where it was going to go. So with home staging, buying couches and chairs and tables and I would just buy and not have a need for it. So even I think with whatever you do, start as small as possible. I'm not going to start with trucks and a warehouse and not go for the moon. Start small and make each little nugget count and know what you're doing each bite, each step of the way.
That's a good idea. You know what? I think we are going to start over. Hold on. I'm going to end this, and we're going to start again the other way. So don't leave. Just hold on a second.